Good. This is Roop Rai, and you're watching Ideas on Point on TC San. Today, my guest is Aneela Azeem. But before I get into introducing her, let me tell you a couple of facts. Approximately every 6 days, a woman in Canada is killed by her intimate partner. Yes, let that sink in. More than 6,000 women and children sleep in shelters on any given night in Canada because it's not safe at home. In 2018, 99,452 people in Canada experienced intimate partner violence, and that number is rising. According to HuffingtonPost.ca, Canadian social service agencies are fielding almost double the number of domestic abuse reports as they did at the beginning of the pandemic. This is a reality. And many of us know someone who has experienced domestic or sexual abuse. There are many shelters in place across Canada that provide a safe space for survivors of domestic violence. But there is a growing need for shelters and for domestic abuse prevention programs that provide culturally appropriate services, perhaps through the languages spoken or the cultural competency required to support the individual seeking help. Calgary has its first ethno-cultural transition home in the form of Maskan, a project by CPSG Association. Today, we're honored to speak to Aneela Azeem, President and Executive Director of CPSG Association here in Calgary. She was one of the pioneering leaders behind Maskan and continues to lead with grit, commitment, and hard work. Let's please welcome Aneela Azeem. Good evening, Aneela.
Good evening. Thank you very much for inviting me, and I'm very humbled with your introduction.
Well, I don't think I said enough. I think I need to say more, and I had it in my mind, but I left it. I thought I'd say that at the end of the show, where when we're done talking, I would say it. But I'll say it right now. I look up to you as a change maker. I often say this that. Challenges, everyone sees challenges, everyone sees problems, right? Like we whine about them, we complain about them, but there are only a very few people who have the courage to give up on their lifestyle or give up on what they're doing professionally, or perhaps even add on to what they're doing in addition to their professional and personal lives, and do something more for the society, for the community, like you are. So thank you for inspiring so many of us.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right. First, let's get this name confusion sorted. Maskan or Maskan? How do you pronounce it?
The right pronunciation is Maskan. So Maskan is derived from Arabic language, which means a very peaceful place to live. So you know the Urdu word Sakoon. So it is derived from that word. So it's Maskan. But many people, they call it Muskan.
Yeah, that's what I thought, Maskan. It's a big smile, right? Like it provides smiles to everyone who comes to Maskan or Maskan. That's what I originally thought. But yeah, thank you for clarifying that. All right. I remember when you were working on this project, this was when I was still working in the office of Calgary McCall. At that time, I remember Maskan was initially approved and funded through the Family and Community Support Grant Program at the time, specifically to address the gap of lack of culturally appropriate services in the existing domestic violence prevention and shelter programs. But that was a few years ago. So can you tell me what's happening now? What are the culturally appropriate services that you're providing through CPSG and through Maskan?
Yes, sure. We are helping women and children who are fleeing domestic violence. We started in 2019. It was very challenging because there was no other example, or there is no pattern that we could follow. It's a kind of a brand new concept. So we have to the purpose of opening a Maskan was having a shelter which address women's need, culturally relevant needs, that they think there is a stigma of going out to other shelters, that they think that they are not being provided with those cultural relevant needs. But the thing is, it's not about just the halal food, and it's not about just the the vegetarian food. It's more about their feelings, to understand their background, their culture, the linguistics. So there are so many things. So since we have open Muskan there, it encouraged a lot of South Asian women to call and ask for help. So far, since we opened it in August 2019, and so far we have helped more than 88 women and children. So we are still working on prevention at the same time. It's not just a transitional home where we offer free food, free stay, and other kind of to just provide their basic needs. It's much more than that.
Okay. So when you say much more than that, what is that much more?
Yes, these are many programs that we are offering. For example, we are there are three kind of stages that we take our clients to. First is it's an emergency shelter. So first, when they come, we provide them basic needs like shelter, food, and other, like if they need transit tickets or they need medicines and all that. The second thing is the transitional thing, because they come from a place where they're experiencing abuse, and like they're living in a very stressful situations. So we provide them with counseling. So they get counseling. We they just sometimes they just break out. They're like kind of so much emotions inside, and they go through such a trauma. They're mentally very disturbed. There's PTSD. There is so many things going on. Their mental health is disturbed. So we try to help them with counseling. And then there is a self sufficiency stage where we try to connect them with the other organizations, with all the government programs. We try to find them a second stage shelter, and or other progressive housing for these kind of clients. And then we have recently collaborated with some organizations like MCG Careers and Al Nafe. So the purpose of the collaboration is we want them to be on their feet, and we are sponsoring them. We are paying for their fee to get educated. We are offering English language classes so that they can improve their communication skills. And we are trying to get them as much help as possible by collaborating with other organizations, because we cannot provide everything. So but there are
Mhm.
so many other organizations who are our partners. They're collaborating with us, so we know like which organization is offering what. So we always refer them to some other organization to get some additional help. But the main purpose is to empower these women. They should not be dependent on one organization to another organization and just always seeking help. They should be on their feet. So that's the purpose, to empower those women.
And when we talk about domestic abuse survivors, it's not just women. Yes, majority of them are women. Actually, in fact, I have some stats here that I will pull up. Give me one second here. Yes, here it says that police reported data. It shows that in 2018, 99,452 people in Canada experienced intimate partner violence. And women were the vast majority of those who experienced this form of violence, accounting for 79% of survivors. So, yes, women definitely make the bigger percentage of domestic abuse survivors. But of course, there are children involved as well, because with women, children are also victims of abuse, and there will be men as well. But who do you help? What does Muskin take in men as well, or is it just for women and children?
It is just for women and children because of limited resources. I would like they, but we always try to help men at the same time. We because we receive call from men like there is no help for men. You think the women are always victim and all that. So we don't say that women are always the victim. It's like yes, as you said that the majority of women they are victim. But recently, just I think last month, there is a new shelter open for men, and that is for those men, when there is a uh, family situation, there is a conflict, and there is a very extreme situation of violence, and sometimes police they ask the men to leave the house. They don't ask
Mhm.
the women and children to leave the house. They always, so sometimes they don't know where to go, right? Like they're asked to get out of the house, so where they should go, and if, especially if they don't have resources and they cannot afford to stay in a motel, so those, for those kind of men there is a place they can call, and they can go there. There is so many other services we are offering. One of them is reconciling service. So let's say if there is a conflict in the family, and the family is the essence of a society, and seeing a family broken is very heartbreaking. So we don't, nobody likes to see a family is broken. So if there are chances to reconcile, we also get involved in that. There are people in your mosque or temples, and the people you can contact to intervene and help a couple to reconcile. So we also encourage that if they want to get back together, and if we can involve some people from our communities, that will be wonderful.
Um, Going by what you just said, that getting back together, that is one of the pressures that a lot of women in South Asian communities feel. So when you speak, circling back to the culturally relevant services that you provide, that probably is one of the biggest challenges that you face, that you have to address, that probably someone who does not have an understanding of the culture may not be able to address
Yes.
it appropriately. So can you talk a little bit about it? So do you see that often, and how do you deal with it?
Yeah, then we have seen this very often. The like when we started working, we see that there are we started receiving calls from Pakistan, or back home, from parents, and they said that our daughter, she just got married, she came here, and now she has nowhere to go because of this, the domestic violence situation. And they were calling us to reach out to their daughters, and it was almost impossible to reach them because the husband-in-laws have taken their cell phones, and there was no way to reach to them. So we have seen this situation, and then we have seen situation when the women, they want to leave the abusive relation. They're living with the same situation for many years, and she knows, like, a woman, when she knows that there is no solution to this problem, they understand that sometimes, and then they want to get out of that situation, and there is so much family pressure to go back to and keep living with the same person under same circumstances, just because they think they want to keep everyone happy by saying that their daughter is, she's happily married, there is no problems with her, and she's very patient, right?
Mhm.
Like she's a very good girl. She's living. She knows how to live with everyone nicely. So that's a kind of social pressure that we have seen many times. Just yesterday, when you and me were talking, this was happening. A lady was calling me for help. I was waiting for her to arrive in the shelter. She never arrived because her parents from India calling her to not go to the shelter and go back to her abusive husband. So she decided to listen to her parents. So this kind of thing is happening, and we should discourage this, and we should support any woman when she says that this is enough. We should understand what she's going through, and we should support that woman.
Yeah. Have you seen an increase in domestic violence in pandemic?
Oh yes, there is. We were full. We had no place for anyone. We had a long waiting list, and same was because we are member of ACWS, which is Alberta Council of Women Shelter. So this was the situation with everyone. There were so many calls. Domestic violence has increased. Basically, it started sometime with the financial crunch they're going through, and then situation gets worse. So we were receiving a lot of calls during this pandemic, and we were very, very busy. I'm very proud of my team. Like during the lockdown and everything, they continued working. They never said that they're scared, they don't want to continue, including myself. We were going to Muskan almost every day, every week in shifts. So there was not one single day when we closed down Muskan.
How many clients, if you can reveal this, do you have at Maskan right now?
In the Muskan right now,
Yeah.
right? Like today, we don't have anybody. This week, for like last week, we have successfully transitioned three families to second state shelter. So they have left. So this is kind of a one lady. She went back to her house. So sometime we don't have anyone, and the other day it's full. So this is what happens. So just
Yeah.
this last week, we have transitioned three ladies.
Normally, for a business, or we always wish that your business gets more clients, but this is one such situation where I would wish for the opposite. I wish that you never get any clients. Like, I wish that people don't have to come to Muskin, that we don't have a situation of domestic abuse at home. But talking about not having a situation of domestic abuse, you also invest your time, and your organization does work in the domestic violence prevention as well.
Yes.
What are those programs?
We did a lot of workshops. We worked with youth because we think just to break this vicious circle, we need to educate our youth. So we had a lot of programs with our youth, and recently our youth group, they have made a short movie about Muskan, where my own daughter, she pretended to be a victim. And the purpose of asking, I called someone else, a professional photographer and a movie maker, to make it. And then we said no, they should do it, so that in the process of making it, they will learn so many things. And this is what happened. They made it very professionally. They're university students and high school students, and I know that they have learned so many lessons. And we shared it with different shelters. We shared it on social media, and we got a lot of appreciation for that. So that's one way of educating your youth about changing. If you're changing the future, you have to spread the awareness. So we are doing that. We have done so many workshops. We have done a very good, very successful workshop, which is Secret to Happy Life. So, when you do some workshops saying that it's about domestic violence, so you'll see no men will come and nobody wants to join
Oh,
that.
yeah.
So we did it in Genesis Center, and the thing is, the caption was "The Secret to Happy Life," and then we have different speakers. They talked about different topics, and the purpose was to spread the awareness about domestic violence. And surprisingly, there were about I think 35 men who attended that workshop, and we were very happy. But that was the purpose.
But would they have been there if you had marketed as a domestic violence workshop? I wonder.
No, I don't think so, because there is some stigma attached to
Hmm.
this. Like, we don't want to blame men, or we don't want to blame anything. It's just the system. It's the psychology. It's the whole attitude. It's that we need to change. So we need to understand what is actually domestic violence. It can be emotional. It can be, financial. It can be mental. It can be physical. So there are different kind of domestic violence. Sometimes women, they abuse men a lot, like mentally. right? So we both need to understand what is violence when it comes to a point when the situation gets worse. If we can understand that, we can avoid this.
I agree with you when you talk about stigma, because I have worked in this community for a very long time as well. And that is something that I have repeatedly heard from people. The minute you talk about women's rights, or the minute you talk about feminism, people just put like this blockage in front of them. They don't want to talk about it, especially men, because then it becomes like, then you start getting viewed as a man hater, which is
Exactly.
not the truth. It's not that we hate men. It's the system of patriarchy, perhaps. Like, it's a system where um, either gender and domestic violence can either gender can be affected, but unfortunately the reality is that majority happens to be women currently. So that's a sad truth, but that does not make anyone who's working in this field or anyone who's doing the work that you're doing a man hater. That's not
No,
like
that's not. We want to save homes, and plus we want to save children, which are the biggest victim of the whole situation. We have seen. I have worked with the youth, and I was very sad to see when there were at different times, three girls. They stayed at Maskan. They were only 16 and 15, and they're still child. And sometimes the domestic violence comes from parents. So we are not only like the people, they look at us like, as you said, men haters. It's not the case. We are serving children. Sometimes they leave houses and they can it can be very dangerous. So thank God we were there and they stayed with us. They were safe. And that's another purpose. We are also trying to open a foster home for the children, that because we hear that a lot from children's services, that when we receive kids from like Muslim houses or other South Asian families, there are not too many foster parents from that community, and then we find it very hard, and the kids, they are really traumatized, and they are very very upset. So they encourage us, they push us that you should talk to your community to be foster parents and all that, which I did. But still, I think um, with my experience, I have learned that we have a need to open a foster home for our kids. You're mute.
all right. No, I see that. I see that. It's actually when you're speaking about it, I feel like I would take, like, my husband and me, I think we would take in a child, but we never thought of it.
Yeah.
That's something that I don't think we even think of it because we haven't seen it growing up, right? So it's something that's very new. But I think that's something that all of us should consider if we can support and help somebody.
It's a lesson learned, like when we started helping needy families in our community. The lesson learned was that we need a shelter for women and children, and now that we are working for 4 years and 4.5 years almost, and we know that there is a need for a foster home for our kids, and they are children's services are always ready to educate you about that, and soon we will do a seminar to tell people how they can be foster parents.
Hmm, interesting. I would be interested in that actually. In any case, if there's anything that we can do or I can do, please let us know. We'll be here to support you in everything that you do. I think you're doing incredible work. So tell me, why did you make the switch from being a realtor, where you could have made money, you could have lived your life. You didn't have to carry the burden of taking care of Muskin in the middle of the night, checking your video cameras, making sure everything's working. So it's a 24-hour job for you right now, and it doesn't pay nearly as much as being a realtor would have paid.
Yes.
So why did you make the switch?
Actually, as I told you that I have deactivated my license last year. The reason was like one, this is I'm very passionate about helping people. This is what we have learned from childhood. This is kind of my dream that I have some kind of NGO. I want to serve people even now. I want to open the same kind of things that we have learned from here in Canada, back home in Pakistan. I want to open a Maskan in Pakistan. That's my dream. But why I switched it, like I thought that with my work I can, volunteer for this organization. I can give some time. But now, like every year, our programs were expanding. CPSG was expanding, and then Muskan was expanding. There was more and more and more work needed, and now we have more programs, more funding. So, for like uh, right now, last week we received a funding for the prevention of domestic violence, and we have to work on it. So we were just too busy, and I could not, do justice with people. I don't want to keep people waiting. So I decided to do what I really love to do, because right, like these days the market is very hot, and
Oh, yeah.
time. It's a very good time for real estate, and I'm trying to renew my license for last 2 months. But now I have decided, no, I don't think I'm going to do it. So let's just do one thing which you can do best. So this is what
Mhm.
I'm doing. So that this
Good for you.
is, just my passion, I would say, to
Well,
serve.
we need more people like you. Really do. This world could do with a lot more Aneela Azeems.
Thank
Um, all right, one last question for you. So, if anyone is in a situation of domestic violence, how can they contact you? Your website is right beneath,
you.
like right beside your name, which is cpsg.ca. Actually, your website also has that video that you mentioned. I saw the video.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yes,
Okay,
it
yes,
also has the video.
yes. I will ask everyone to watch that video and visit our website, because it's on our website. There's not just the helpline number listed there. You can just give us a call, and we'll take it from there. We have compiled a directory of all necessary services. For example, if you're looking for legal help, the number is in the directory. There is a link there. If you need any kind of psychological help, you will find that number in that directory. So it's not just a we really took time, like about 6 months, to make that directory, which has specific information about domestic
Mm.
violence, just to make it, because we know, like when the lady walk in Muskan, what she needs to know, what help she needs. So everything is there. Just check out that directory, and you will get a lot of help. We have caseworkers, we have professional people in Muskan. So when you'll call, you will get all the information. If we cannot provide any service, that then we will refer you to somebody who can help you better.
Oh, that's brilliant. Thank you so much. And the toll free number is here down here as well, which is 1-800-471-3879. You can always email CPSG, which is info@cpsg.ca. And you can find Aneela on Facebook as well.
Yes, I
Aneela Azeem. You can always message her there too. Well, thank you so much for your time, and thank you for everything that you do. Like I said earlier, you are a change maker that all of us look up to. I look up to you. So thank you for inspiring the next generation, and thank you for encouraging your daughter and her friends to do everything by themselves. And Michael Hawley says, great work and a needed program.
thank you so much, Roop, for giving us an opportunity to talk about our program. So thanks again.
We'll be here for you. If you have any other new programming coming up, please let me know. You have
Sure.
a good night.
You
Take
too.
care.
You too. Good night.